And we're kind of informal, so it doesn't matter. Did you get your beard? Dan, do you have your beard?
My beard.
Good, excellent. That's we got. It's something we have the important shit sorted out here. All right, well, we're live, folks.
Get it sorted out now, mate. Get it sorted. Come on.
Oh, he's got his Guinness going on. Excellent. All right, so folks, welcome back to another week. As most of you probably know by now, we're got Dan Sharp here from everyone's favorite SEO auditing tool, Screaming Frog. Yay! Yeah, I don't have the applause thing set up. Sorry, boys. There we go. So, yeah, if you need it, Dan, sorry we didn't get the time to run you through things. Up at the top left is your screen share. It's a little green thing there. So if you need that at any point, it's up in the top left. Little cool. Green screen looking thing. So, speaking of which, I guess I'll even start there. Alright. So, yeah, the reason we wanted to have you on, at least in part, obviously lots of people are going to have lots of questions and stuff like that, but was the fact that we have our wonderful new update that everyone seemed excited about, and that's when I first contacted you. And let me see if I can find that. Oh, there we go. That's impressive here. All right, so version 5.0. Oh, hold on. I'm breaking things. Now I'm the fucking rookie. Oh my god. That's sad. That's sad. All right. All right, so here we go. 5.0 is out. So I guess you might as well run us through what is new and exciting in 5.0 before we move on anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for inviting me on anyway, appreciate that. We released a couple of new versions actually recently. We did 4.02, which was that was back in July, I think, and 5 was in just at the start of this month. So fairly big new features, Google Analytics integration, so you can connect to the Google Analytics API and put in any data you want during a crawl. So you know.
I'll give some examples for anyone who's not even sure what the hell that is, what it's going to be.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so you can just put in any data you want from Google Analytics, essentially. So user data, sessions, you know, users, bounce rate, you know, page views, whatever. But you can also put in conversion data, so you can put in goals, e-commerce. You can also connect and pull in AdWords. AdSense, you run any affiliate sites that may have AdSense on them or something. Social activities, social interactions, some pretty good stuff there anyway, and very useful to map kind of against on-page elements that a lot of people might have been doing, you know, previously in Excel. Saves you having to use VLOOKUPs and so on and so forth. So that was one of the biggest things in version 4. Also custom extraction, which is kind of just scraping essentially. So you guys might be familiar with custom search, which allowed you to search for anything in the source code. We've also got now extraction, which allows you to extract anything from the source code of websites, so essentially scrape anything. So you can use XPath or CSSPath or regex to extract any data you want. So anything we don't already collect in the tool, we haven't yet added, you can now go and collect. So Google Analytics IDs, additional headings, H3s, H4s or something, mobile annotations, hreflang we don't collect yet, but you can go and get those now if you want. Social meta tags, so Open Graph, Twitter cards, stuff like that. Anything you can think of really. Anything you want, prices, email addresses, whatever. So it makes it quite powerful. And then version 5 was Google Search Analytics integration. So we were part of the Search Analytics beta with John and his team. So we've had this in-house for a little while, but you can now pull in clicks, impressions, CTR, average position.
Sexy. That's very sexy there. You know?
Yeah, it's quite cool.
I like that.
It's a shame the rest of their API is a bit useless, otherwise we would have done a little bit more, and we probably will do more, but I'm hoping they improve the rest of it, to be honest. It's not it's not great what you can get out of it. You can now view and audit URLs blocked by robots.txt as well, so you can see, if you run a crawl, you can see what URLs are being blocked by robots, and we'll also show you the matched robots.txt line. So say, you know, line 3, and give you the exact disallow that's blocking it. Useful for auditing, you know, robots.txt. What else? Configurable accepts language header as well. So you guys probably know that Google introduced local aware crawl configurations. So they crawl not just from, you know, IP ranges in the States. They now crawl apparently from everywhere, and they also now crawl with an accept language header too. And so if you're changing the content of your page based upon that, it's quite useful to be able to test that in the Spider. So you might be getting different, you know, content titles, descriptions, whatever. So you can change that in the Spider too. The hidden gem, something that I particularly like in both versions, is the Google Analytics and Google Search Console not matched report. Essentially, this report pulls all, gets all the URLs from Google Analytics. So your landing page URLs, whatever query you ran, and Google Search Console takes all those URLs, matches them against your crawl URLs, and then tells you which ones aren't in the crawl. So potentially you can find, you know, orphan pages and things like that. You know, just stuff that you've forgotten about.
Okay, so yeah, that's essentially, if your crawl didn't find it, but you're finding it through the API, that's what that's spitting back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can upload them in list mode and then, you know, crawl them if you want to have a look at the, you know, the details for them.
Yeah, that's kind of neat too. I think you could even probably find some hacked pages that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
because if a hacker or someone has stripped out the navigation and everything, and you guys aren't finding it through crawling, you could certainly find stuff like that through this. Well,
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I bet you it would.
Oh, if you could run a global on WordPress, you could find all kinds of stuff.
That's it. What kind of stuff? So you also got all the e-commerce and the other goal tracking. Everything comes in now as well, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can choose up to 30 metrics now. It used to be 20, but you know, you can choose up to 30 metrics, and it's super quick. I don't know if any of you guys have tried it, but you know, you can just give permission to for us to access your Google, the app to access your Google account, log in to, you know, your analytics, and then it will just pull in, you know, your account. You can just choose, you know, the property, the view, the segment, and then you can choose whatever metric groups you want, and then obviously the dimensions as well. So that might be page path, or it might be landing page path, whatever you want to have a look at, and you can essentially choose 30 separate metrics and we pull them in. It's super quick because Google's API gives back up to 10,000 rows at a time for 10 metrics. So if you choose more than 10, it will have to be, we'd do a couple of queries obviously, so it might be slightly longer, but you know, if you chose 10, under 10 queries with one dimension, either landing page path or page path, it's pretty much instant. So it's quite nice to see that come in real time.
And I guess the obvious one is what's next? What other things you worked on that didn't make this release?
Loads of stuff, loads and loads of stuff. So I had a look the other day. We've got 130 different features still on the to-do. So you know, absolutely tons still to go. The difficult thing is obviously prioritizing those and working out, you know, what we should do next. And generally that comes from feedback, you know. So the things that we get via our support, the things that people say via Twitter and so on. So yeah.
Well, it's got to be a full-time gig by now, isn't it? Jesus, man.
Hey, sorry?
But it's a full-time gig now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, historically.
Like I think originally, are you still doing any kind of agency work, or is it pretty much focused on the crawl or the Spider now?
It's both. So so you guys probably all call the SEO Spider Screaming Frog. Well, Screaming Frog's an agency. So I come from an
Right.
agency
Yeah.
background.
Which of course, brings us back to the old issue of that it was always, I think, something. I remember when the guys at Raven were still doing agency stuff, even Moz back in the day. Everyone always has that question. Are you culling our data? I guess you must have to deal with that a lot still. Or are people pretty much trusting? Or,
No,
there was
people.
always that question. Are you taking all of our data and using it for your agency?
No, not at all. Anything anybody shares with us is pretty confidential. We won't share anything. I don't think there's anything that sensitive that anybody's ever shared with us, really. But no, I mean, it doesn't seem to be a conflict. We built the tool for us to use internally as an agency. That was 6 years ago we built it.
Was it that long ago? Huh?
Yeah. So I think it'll be 5 years public release in a month or so, or maybe even now.
At the same time as the dojo then. Yeah, I remember when you guys first started, we were just starting. That's where we met.
Yeah, so we had it for a while, just in-house, and being fairly selfish with it, and then we thought, we'll release it and see whether anybody else wants to use it too.
Well, I think it's hugely popular. Like, as far as audit work and things of that nature goes, anytime someone anywhere these days asks what's a good tool, you guys tend to be the ones. You know what I mean? There's got to be a sense of pride about that, because it's always everyone I know is always, I ask, have you using Screaming Frog?
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Yeah, obviously, yeah, no, I think the tool itself has developed into something a bit more than just us. The amount of awesome features that we've included in the tool have been from customers and feedback from other people. That's what it's turned into now. The 130 odd features that we've got in that big list are from all of our users. So we just try and prioritize them based on their feedback.
Well, how many installs of it are there these days? Like, meaning how many free and paid accounts? Like, how many people are actually using it?
I mean, there's been hundreds of thousands. I don't have the figure off the top of my head, but yeah, hundreds of thousands. We've got a decent number of users as well, which is cool. Yeah, really good. And I mean, you were talking about it must be its own gig now. Well, there's 27 people in Screaming Frog, and historically there's only one person working on the Spider. And now we've grown massively to 2 people, and potentially 3 soon, which will be nice. It's difficult development, you've got to find the right people. If you don't find the right people, it can actually slow you down rather than speed you up. So we've been pretty careful with what we've done, and yeah, no, we're trying to move as quickly as possible anyway. And I mean, the agency side, we do a lot of consulting, so the rest of the team is pretty much focused on, running SEO campaigns, PPC campaigns for clients. We're a search marketing agency.
Yeah, you were touching actually on, speaking of the paid side, the PPC, the AdWords and stuff. What are some of the uses with the new API things as far as AdWords and that goes? Like, how would you, what implementations would you use Screaming Frog for on that side of things?
Yeah, a couple of things really. So it might be useful if you're running paid search campaigns and you want to test the URLs, in AdWords or whatever. You can upload them in list mode. List mode's actually unlimited, so if you're only using the free version, you can crawl as many URLs as you like. It's actually not restricted to just 500 URLs. So crawl as much as you like, and you can check for any errors, 400s, 500s, whatever, any redirects, anything like that. I know AdSpot does that after a certain amount of time anyway, but you can manually put that in there. And also, with the new Google Analytics integration, you can pull in AdWords data, so you can pull in impressions, clicks, costs, CPM, CPC, all of those things, goal conversions, return on ad spend, everything else, and you can map those against your URLs as well. So I don't know if anybody's actually used that. We find it fairly useful in-house because obviously you want to know what's converting, what's working well, so sometimes it's nice to have a look at those.
Yeah, like I don't even manage a lot of AdWords campaigns because I'm more on the higher-end consulting, but I love when clients have AdWords because then I have all that data to play with as far as targeting goes, as far as my own campaign strategy knowledge is concerned. Which like I was looking at one the other day, and the guy's he's paying I think $50 on average conversion per sale. It was like, okay, this one I want to focus SEO on because it's costing you a fucking arm and a leg. You're not even making money off this AdWords wise. So stuff like that's where I tend to look at AdWords, at least as far as the data goes.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Absolutely. You know, it's all not provided now for organic, and I know we've got the search analytics report, but it doesn't quite do the job like it used to, does it?
No. Tim, what's up, man? Good to see Tim in the house again. It's been a while. Anyone got anything you want to throw at Dan before we move along?
I got a question.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, imagine you've got a client that has, I don't know, 27 domains, right?
Yep.
And you know there's duplicate content because they got a bunch of location pages, but they got a lot of subdomains and all that kind of stuff. But then sometimes you have like these offshoot 2 or 3 domain names that are still based on that client's product pages. So I guess my question is, have you ever thought of a way to like segment multiple domains at the same time, go look for dupes and all that kind of stuff in a later version, or is that like too much of a 3D model?
No, I think that's a good idea. It's something that we have discussed in the past, but I would say it's a fair time off just yet. But yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. Being able to crawl multiple domains at once, checking for duplicate content across them all. I mean, you can do it across subdomains at the moment. You probably know. You can call a domain and
use that before multiple times for clients, but it's not only the problem is if you've got 25 locations, in some cases, not necessarily our decision, but what we've inherited could be 25 different domain names for one client for just, you know, locations and stuff. So just knowing things that where I've had to take 25 different crawls and merge them together, just kind of a thought, you're already in there, sure way to, you know what I mean, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
No, it's a good idea. I mean, nothing that I can, you know, you can't do that now, unfortunately. Just trying to think. You can, I mean, you could hack it actually. So you could upload them in list mode. Yeah, you could upload them all in list mode, and then take the crawl depth off and crawl them all at once. Give that a go.
What was that again? Repeat that, please.
So you can upload them in list mode.
Right.
This is a bit of a hack, really.
Right.
So you go to list mode, and then whack in, you know, did you say 20, 25 domains or whatever, and then go back into the Spider configuration. And when you go into list mode, you probably know it automatically adds a crawl depth of 0 because it just crawls the URLs in that list you've uploaded. If you remove the crawl depth limit, and just change it to just remove it completely, you should be able to crawl all those domains at once. So that might work for you. Have a go. Yeah, that's a bit of a hack. It's not supposed to be used in that way, but
okay. Thanks.
No worries.
Yeah, that would be a nice feature.
Oh yeah, did somebody say something?
Yeah, go, Doc. Go ahead.
I was saying that would be a nice feature.
I'm sorry, I was taking notes.
Your name is Steve, not Doc.
Right. Go ahead.
I was just chiming in that, yeah, that would be a really nice feature to be able to look at various URLs for duplicate content.
Cool. Yeah, no, we'd definitely have a look at that. It is on the list. I'll have a look at where it is. But yeah, no, I really like that idea, actually. It would be useful.
Take all the time you need, Dan. You got 2 months till Christmas.
On a side note, Tony in the chat room is saying he's too damn drunk to be hanging out. No such thing.
Which is all the more reason to be here.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite. That's, you know, damn good reason. I did this. I think it was you guys, but it was via the super secret SEO group on Facebook. Mostly the UK guys there. The place which doesn't exist. And I think someone was talking about load balance issues as far as crawling larger sites or servers actually getting shut down when you guys crawl it. Was that Screaming Frog? Was that you guys?
Possibly. We used to be part of that secret Facebook group as well. Is it still around? I haven't logged into Facebook in bloody ages. Yeah, I mean, you know, it depends on the server. You know, if it's an older server or it's close to capacity, you know.
Well, I think that's exactly what the discussion was. Is that servers that are either close to the capacity or just teetering on the edge or archaic technology, et cetera, that they'd run Screaming Frog and it would the load would actually crash the server at times. So is there a workaround for those kind of situations other than telling your client to fix their server?
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can throttle the crawl rate. So you can go into the Spider, go to configuration, and then there's a speed option there, and you can limit URLs per second. So you can just reduce it. You know, I would recommend reducing it down to a URL per second or something like that. So that's pretty slow. That should be fine for most servers. If it's struggling at a URL per second, there's probably an issue that you want to have a look into. But it should be able to cope with something along those lines.
It's identifying a whole new problem that you never intended to.
Yeah, exactly.
Servers, oh, shit.
I mean, we generally recommend, you know, having a chat with your client, letting them know that you're going to crawl. You can always agree a crawl rate with them or agree a time or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. You know, again, so yeah, that's something folks should at least be aware of. And yeah, maybe do it on off-peak hours or something of that nature.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, most websites, most newer websites, you know, should be able to handle, you know, the crawl rate. It is pretty rapid, but you can reduce it if need be.
All right. Anybody else want to throw something in there? Okay.
Yeah. I want to represent the newbies in all of this, and just so I'm a very good parent. I've picked out my teachers, and I know who I want to listen to, but I'm still like a little bit fuzzy in the in-between details. For people who may be new to Screaming Frog, what would you have to offer? Like what is it that you can like encapsulate into like a statement for new people?
Yeah, so hopefully it's, I mean, when we built the tool, you know, it was aimed at kind of, you know, I guess expert SEOs in a way, but it should be pretty usable for those new to SEO too. And essentially, you know, the tool, it's a crawler. It will crawl your website. It will crawl all the URLs on your website, and it will just come back with data. So it will come back with data that we consider from an SEO perspective. So, you know, response codes, things like page titles, descriptions, headings, you know, and more technical stuff, so directives, you know, whether they've got a no index meta tag or a canonical link element or whatever, and also things like word count, in links, out links, stuff like that. So what it does, it gathers data for you when you're auditing a website, and it just helps you make informed decisions. It doesn't necessarily tell you how to or what recommendations to make. Obviously, you need to go away and make those recommendations yourself, but it's just an efficient way of gathering data, basically.
Yeah, to a sense, Chris, and any other new folks out there, you know, we've always at the dojo, people will come along and say, well, what's a good tool to use, or what tool do you recommend? And we've always had a very simple answer, that a tool is, or a data set, if it's Google Analytics or any other thing, is only useful for answering questions. You need to have the questions first, and I think SEO Frog is one of those kind of tools that you need to approach. It's not going to give you a dashboard and say fix this, do that, do this. It's not that kind of tool. It's more of, I've got questions. Well, that's how I'd approach Google Analytics or Frog or whatever, is that I have these questions I need answered, so what tools can I pull up that are going to potentially have that answer, or the data I need to figure this out? And it's one of those kind of things. It's not really a dashboard tool. It's going to say X, Y, Z, and I hate those, because, you know, an audit is an audit, and each website's unique, each website's different. Any kind of tool that spits back like grades and ratings and, you know, that kind of crap isn't really that useful for anyone with any kind of experience. So, it is, and I don't even think it's limited to SEOs. Like, you know, my wife runs the web development side of my business over here, and one day she was, you know, talking to Terry and I, and she's like, well, I need to, you know, find in all the pages on a given site. And Terry's like, well, just go use Screaming Frog, and it'll give you all the pages on that site, and you can now see the architecture, see where they all are, you know, see all your status codes and things of that nature. So it's even handy for web developers and people like that. It's not always just SEO information that you're getting. It's really website information.
So it sounds like it'd be pretty friendly for someone coming from like university experience, like coming from IBM SPSS 22 or something, or you're asking different questions and you're implementing things, but you already know how to ask the questions. It sounds like that this would be a good transition.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there are tools that will probably be more helpful. If you guys use Moz's crawl tool, what's it they call it, the crawl app or something. That's the type of tool which will provide recommendations with a score. I think it's doesn't it an A, B, or a C or something like that? Gives you a grade and things like that. This tool, it should be pretty easy to use. It's pretty ugly. There's only one place to put in a domain and hit crawl, and then it would just come back to you with all the data. And we kind of leave it down to you to work out, how to use that.
And again, like a grading type of tool is now that's based on someone else's version of what they think is important.
Yeah.
I don't want something like that, Kristen. You know what I mean? Because I know what I think is important. It could be internal links, it could be heading tags, it could be a whole bunch of variety of things that I find are very important to me. So I don't want a grading tool. I want a tool that gives me the data that I can now take and put my own spin on, my own approach to. And that's what it's doing. You know what I mean?
That's really exciting because, like, from a statistical standpoint, like, statistics are only as helpful as the person who is interpreting them. Like, statistics can be swayed any which way. You have to really look at who
and even value,
is the voice behind it.
Is
so
it an
it's really cool.
site? Is it an e-commerce site, an informational site? Is it a mix of both? The values you're placing on certain elements within an audit are dependent on the client that you're working with. You know what I mean? Again, so these grader tools are just based upon one set approach, whereas when you get more experienced at audits and things of that nature, you really have your own mindset of what's important, what's not important, and what you're looking for. And so I prefer tools like Screaming Frog because it just gives me that data. Or if I'm looking for specific data, I can go and dig that out of it, as opposed to some tool saying you got a B+. Oh, thanks. Based upon who? Who decided that's a B+? Not me. So.
Yeah, I think you did a great job at answering my question. Thank you very much.
No worries at all.
I have a question. And
what time does the bar close? Oh, sorry.
So, and I think I know the answer. Hopefully, I know the answer to the question. The data that is used in Screaming Frog is not captured by you or shared by you with any third party in any way, shape, or form. Is that correct, sir?
Completely correct. Yeah, 100% accurate. It's all local to you. We can't see anything. Nothing's communicated back.
Right. So your previous comment, I don't know that the case is necessarily the same. So I think the difference is what your tool is your tool is a data gathering tool on the right measurement points that you need for SEO with zero amount of opinion or bias. So there's really nothing else you can use besides the tools that Google offer, because everything else is A, going to have bias, or B, violate Google Webmaster guidelines, period.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So for the newbie part, we brought up a newbie question. Since you're a newbie, start out right. Think about this, what he's talking about this way. This is no opinion. This is unbiased. This is just data gathering. Whatever's on the server, that's what you're going to go get. You're going to go look at the website first instead of what Google has, and this way you can see what you have in the website and then go compare it with what Google has and go, wait a minute, I need to edit this. I have this many. But the other part is you can verify if Google's spidering your site correctly, because you can go and sort by duplicates, say like title tags, and then go into Google Webmaster Tools and make sure it has the exact number. If it has the exact number on both, now you know they match up and Google spidered your entire site.
Right, yeah. Like, what you're saying, Kristen, is Search Console now. It's not even Webmaster Tools, whatever. I still call it Webmaster Tools myself. But in there, like you're saying, Kristen, there's a section that says, duplicate title tags. It might say 64 or something like that. Now you can cross-reference that with your Screaming Frog data. And even better now, because of the new additions there, Dan, you can see which pages are not picked up, vice versa, so you can adjust that number accordingly. But yeah, Kristen, you really do need to have your own sense of what you think is important with your experience over the years. A grading tool is just, I detest them because, like Steve's saying, that's someone else's bias as to what's important. I don't want that. Just give me the data, let me decide what I think is important, what's not. And that's what's good about Screaming Frog. They're not giving you any kind of grading at all, no bias, just information that you can use and decide what you think is important. So. Steve Bonin asked in the Q&A, Kristen asked my question, but Dan, what are the 3 to 5 most useful things that Screaming Frog offers and why? How much time do we got? All right. Anyways, okay. So I think that's kind of a loaded question. You could say what are the most popular uses people have for it, or we could probably, I'd rather go this way and say, Dan, what 3 to 5 things do you guys think are most important, or that you use it the most for internally for like clients and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we use it in lots of different ways. Some of my favorite kind of feature in it is auditing redirects. So we have a lot of clients who perform website migrations, change their URLs to a new set of URLs, 301 or should 301, obviously from the old to the new, like for like, so on and so forth. And we specifically developed a report, so you can upload all your old URLs in this mode. You can take a crawl first of all, obviously, before the new website goes live, get all the URLs together, gather them all. The developers in theory will set up correct redirects for go live. And what you can do is you can audit those. You can upload those old URLs in list mode. And if you click the always follow redirects tick box under the advanced configuration, and then run a crawl, afterwards you can export a redirect change report. And essentially this maps out those redirects until it reaches something that isn't a 200. So if you have a chain of, say, 8 redirects or whatever, it will follow all of those. It won't just look at one level deep.
A chain 8 redirects, you got bigger problems.
Yeah, I know. In theory, there would only be, you'd get the old URLs to be redirected to the new ones, but actually that's not always the case. Actually quite often you'll get 2 or 3 lots of hops, and then there might be a 400 or a 500, 5 or 6 down the chain or whatever it might be, or there might be a redirect loop as well. And that specific report, I'll drop the URL in the chat in a moment, picks up all of those things. So that's one of my favorite features anyway. It saves so much time.
Well, somewhat related to those, before you move on to your second most useful feature to you, on that same idea, what about Canonicals?
Yeah, and I mean, that's a very interesting one. We've got a canonical error report, which will look at any canonicals that are, redirecting, erroring in any way or anything along those lines, or have no response. But when we map out that redirect chain report, we don't look at canonicals at the moment, because at the end they could also be canonicalized somewhere. Could be pointing somewhere else. Their canonical could be to another location. So essentially almost no
like
redirect.
even e-commerce situations where you've got different attributes like colors and sizes and things like that, and you want to look throughout the system of that site on a larger e-commerce site to make sure those are mapped out properly. Is that something that can be done?
Yeah. So as default, the Spider will pick up canonicals from the website, and there's if you go to under the directives tab, if you have the tool, that we've got a canonical and a canonicalized 2 filters. Canonical, just saying there is a canonical present, and then canonicalized, that's where the URL, the canonical URL is different to the parent page URL. So it's been canonicalized. It's going to another direction, another page. And so those are the interesting ones to have a look at in particular. Are you canonicalizing them correctly? Is it a faceted nav? Is it whatever else? Is it filtered URLs, parameter pages, whatever else?
All right. So another favorite feature or a common feature that people are using.
What other popular features? I think the custom extraction feature has been a pretty big one. So that essentially allows you to use XPath, CSS path, or regex, and you can just grab anything you want from the HTML of a website. So, you know, if there's something that we're not already picking up, if there's an element you want to collect, a data point, we've had people use it to extract opening hours of some shops and things like that for a client, collecting prices of products, product IDs, you know, Google Analytics IDs. We don't yet collect mobile annotations and things like that. So you can use it in all kinds of ways anyway, and that's pretty cool. So that's just under configuration custom extraction, and you can go in there and just include, you know, your XPath or whatever, and then crawl the website and it will collect that data for you.
Speaking of mobile, does it emulate of any kind?
Sorry?
Does it emulate for mobile as far as that goes?
Yeah, so I mean, you can change the user agent to a mobile user agent. So you can, that's under configuration, HTTP header, there's a user agent there. So we've got kind of, you know, the common user agent strings in there, Googlebot for smartphones or whatever else. So you can crawl your desktop version and ensure that it's, you know, 302ing to your mobile subdomain or whatever it might be, if you've got a mobile subdomain, and then check that it's been canonicalized correctly and so on and so forth. But that's about it at the moment.
All right, so we have two most useful things. I think a third one I'll just throw out there, which is someone mentioned in here, which is broken links. I think that's also a big.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's kind of one of the most basic things you can do is you can crawl a website. You can it will find all the broken links. You can then go and look at those broken links. You can find all the pages, all the source pages of those broken links, and then obviously you can go and correct them. You can also export them all. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to get them from Search Console. You used to be able to.
Well, what about those sneaky link building types? Can they crawl someone, you know, competitor sites or target sites and look for broken links to obviously contact them and submit their own content per set?
Yeah, I mean, people do use it for, you know, broken link building and things like that.
I can see Rishi doing that a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
For some reason, he just jumps to my mind on that one.
You can use hack ports in WordPress websites.
Hey, sorry?
You can use it to find hack ports in WordPress websites.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can do that too. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you can find, you know, hacked, you know, URLs that have been injected in there or whatever it might be. You can use the custom source code search feature for that as well if they're not actually hyperlinked using, you know, an HTML anchor, for example.
Right.
What kind of reporting you got as far as like internal link ratios and stuff? I know obviously Google Webmaster Tools has that. Are you guys pull from there? Or do you crawl internal link ratios and counts on your own within the tool?
Yeah, so we've got our own link counts. So you can obviously look at the in links and out links of every URL. You can see which pages are the most linked to pages. Which page is obviously the least linked to, how many in-links and out-links they might have, and external out-links as well, so external linking out to external websites. You can also have a look at, you know, depth stats and things like that, so, you know, what level they are in the website, how deep they are from the home page or from the start URL that you call from. So in the right-hand overview, we have a site structure tab, and there's some depth stats there, so you can see, you know, you might have 500 pages that are, you know, 6 or 7 clicks deep or whatever that you may want to have a look at. So yeah, that's pretty useful.
All right, well, there we go. That's our most interesting feature. Yeah, you know, I'm always just kind of big with internal link ratios and things like that. As far as how equity is passing around the site, where equity is coming in, how equity is being passed around, and things of that nature. And I think adjusting things like that are always useful for me. So that's something I use a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, I think internal linking is something that's often isn't given the priority it should be. I think you can still be pretty powerful.
Often? How about never? I'm sorry, I still talk about these things and get blank stares from people, I don't know, how old is PageRank now?
Yeah, I mean, linking to a page site-wide or just improving the number of links that it has from other powerful pages.
You get a client, for example, that why is this page ranking above this one when this is my target page, this one isn't? 9 times out of 10, you'll find out that there's a few hundred more internal links going to this page, and that's pushing it up from the equity coming in elsewhere. So it's not always direct equity, and especially in e-commerce situations, a lot of your internal pages and product pages aren't going to have a lot of links. It's more of that equity passing internally through the site elsewhere.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, some pages don't need it, so product pages, don't need a huge amount of page rank, potentially, depending on what it is and how competitive it is, but typically they don't, So, this helps you, I guess, understand, the site architecture, the internal linking and mapping out, what are your key pages, how deep should they be? Should they be linked to directly from the home page, and how far onwards,
Well, obviously one of the buzzwords the last few years is content. Oddly enough, I'm pretty sure we had this thing called content is king 15 years ago, but apparently now it's content marketing. So, what kind of things do you think people are using it for, as far as, and I would think, obviously with the Google Analytics integration now, I'm thinking now, I'm going to have to go play with it. There's probably a lot more ways that you can play with it, but as far as understanding as far as their content and what they're using and working with, how do you think it could be used as far as that goes? For those inbound marketing things.
Yeah, a lot of people are using it for content audits and things like that. So you can go away and obviously gather all the URLs on your website and get a better understanding of how much organic landing page traffic they're getting. Whether people are actually engaging with those pages, and from a more techie SEO perspective, that's really useful for things like Panda audits and stuff like that, when you're trying to work out where the bloat might be on your website. If you want to remove pages or improve pages, which is what we've always found Panda's been about, that's really useful. So I think that's probably it. We don't yet pull in link metrics, social metrics, and things like that, but you can use.
Yeah, and I don't think you would need to. It's, again, there's other ways to find that stuff, and I'm not sure if that. I guess maybe down the road it's handy, but I think for what I use the tool for, I find those metrics elsewhere.
I think for content audits, some people might find it useful, knowing the number of link and root domains to a page and things like that. So something we may do. There's plenty of tools out there that you can gather to do that. URL profile is a pretty good one, or if you're good with VLOOKUP, you can just do it yourself.
You were saying the content bloat and stuff like that, as far as Panda and things of that nature. How would you use it for that?
So I mean, you can, typically what we do is we do a full site crawl to have a look at all the pages on the website, and then you can go through and have a look and see, what pages, have traffic, what pages, don't have any traffic, any organic traffic. Why are they there? If they don't have any organic traffic, are they there for the user? So if we're looking at landing page organic traffic, they might, not have any. Quite genuinely, but still be useful for the user, so you might want to keep those. But also at the same time, it's a pretty easy way to spot pages that you may want to remove. It really depends. But also looking at things, like adjusted bounce rate and stuff like that, or whatever else when you're performing a Panda audit. But also looking at pages, working out with their duplicates, how close they are in terms of how close they are to other pages on the website. Whether you're being almost too specific and too targeted with some pages, if you have too many landing pages and things like that. I think something that Google's, certainly been looking at over the past couple of years or longer with Panda and just in general with the quality update, is they're looking at websites that have become too bloated, haven't always had that focus on kind of quality, whatever measure they might use, generally kind of engagement factors and things like that. you know, and certainly the Spider can help you have a look at those things and gather all the URLs on your website and review those things.
Yeah. Well, 404s. I guess you're doing 500s as well, I would assume.
Hey, sorry?
Your response codes wise, you're picking up 500s and 510s and all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can, you know, more basic stuff. You can have a look at response codes, so you can see any redirects on your website, whether it's a 301 or a 302 or something else. We've already discussed, you know, broken links, so 400s, 404s, or a 410 or whatever it might be. Server errors, so 500s. You can have a look at any no responses. So if you incorrectly put in the URL or the protocol to a URL or whatever it might be, and also URLs that are blocked by robots.txt. You can see all of that under the response code tab, and then there's 6 filters under there for all of those, so you can look at them easily.
Anybody else? Tim, you got anything you want to throw at him or what? Tim looks deep in thought. Is he frozen?
From the ethics standpoint, I just wanted to highlight what you were saying about there are other tools that can do these things, and that kind of came up in a discussion I was in yesterday, talking about Evernote and stuff. Like, there are so many wonderful tools out there, and there's room for everybody. I don't think that it's healthy for the ecosystem of the web for one tool to be able to, for one tool or system to be able to do everything. There's got to be checks and balances, and I like what you say that you're doing and what I've experienced from Screaming Frog. Just keep doing that, and I don't think you have to worry about moving into the other sectors. That's just my own opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good comment. And thanks. No, I completely agree. We've tried to be, you know, pretty focused with the tool and what it does. And there's various directions we could have gone in the past, and we've always gone, no, I don't think that's quite right. And I think it's always going to be very what it is now, like we were talking about, you know, not providing recommendations, not telling you how to do SEO, just giving you the data. It's always going to be there. And I think it probably won't turn into, you know, a tool set that others provide. Other tools, you know, have gone and built on it and done other things and things like that. And I don't think the SEO Spider is ever going to be that. It's always going to be very focused. It's going to do one thing extremely well.
Very trustworthy from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you very much for doing so and being that way. You understand what I'm saying? From a serious perspective, I can't, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I don't want to give my clients' data to those people because they're going to share it with everybody and their dog. So that's real important that I keep my own data. And with some of my clients, you know, that's a real big thing. So, you know, you get fired if you have the right kind of stuff that way. So, you know, this I can use your tool and I'm not sharing the data. So I'm covered by all the agreements signed between the agency, myself, and the client.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, we like it that way as well. It's one of the reasons why we didn't go into the cloud. We didn't, you know, build an app that you would log into through a browser. I think there's pros and cons of each. It really depends, you know, on what the job is and, you know, what your preference is as well. But I love having a desktop app. I think it kind of forces you to get your hands dirty in a way. You know, I think sometimes the cloud can allow you to have a bit more distance from a crawl. I think, you know, it's real time. You're there. You're in it. You're making the changes. You can see the URLs that come back. You can, you know, exclude URLs immediately that you notice that you shouldn't be crawling. You know, whatever it might be. You get the feedback straight away, and you know that's what I've always liked. You know, the flexibility of it as well.
Yeah, and again, Kristen, you know, it's been reiterated a few times, but you know, I prefer tools that give me data that I have questions, so now I'm going to go look around whatever tool it is, Google Analytics or the Frog or whatever, and find the information I need based upon what I think is important, not based upon what, Moz or whoever, search metrics or someone else thinks is important. I don't care about that. And like he said earlier, that's like Steve was saying, that's a bias by the programmers of these tools, which is great, but I think it also, tacking on what Dan said, makes you lazy. Because now you're just like, plugging it in, spitting out a report, handing it to your client, and that's not what this job is about. This job is about our own hypothesis about how we feel Google works or what we think is wrong in a given situation. So now you go and get the data to look at that hypothesis and figure out if it's right or wrong. So, tools like Screaming Frog, that's why I prefer them, because all he's doing is giving me information which I now have to disseminate and apply to the hypothesis of the situation I'm working with to see if, am I right, am I wrong, will this fix? And,
I think that's probably. I think that's probably the biggest competitive edge you've got, Dan, is the fact that there's no bias whatsoever. Calm down, Steve.
Steve's playing with shit again. Oh, Jesus.
He's not playing video games.
Oh, Steve. It's Friday. My God. Good Lord. We're doing good there, Billy. Billy Idol. Is that really your name? Come on. All right. Anybody else where to? Where do we go next? Nothing? All right. So I guess, Dan, of your 120 zillion features on the list, which are some of the ones you're most excited about getting done? I guess is it like, how are you guys attacking it? I'm assuming that larger things obviously over time, and you're knocking off the smaller feature additions as you go because that are easier to do or implement.
It depends. We always like to do, so we're trying to be more regular with our releases, and we always like to include, a fairly big feature in each release, and we've still got plenty more of those to come. And then, mix it in with, a couple of smaller features at the same time. So, I mean, generally, the way that we prioritize it is based upon feedback, as I say, from support from Twitter or wherever else, from our customers essentially, but also what we think our users might get the most value from too. So it might be little things, it might be little usability things. I mean, there's lots of things that we probably should have done by now, like make the app update automatically without you having to download a new version each time and things like that, manually, little things like that. But we always prioritize kind of the fun stuff too. Would our users rather have that, or would they rather have analytics integration or whatever it might be? So it kind of depends. We've got a rough order list. We generally have a rough priority list of around about 5 to 10 in advance. And every now and again, there might be 1 or 2 that sneak in pretty quickly, as well as general bug fixes, other things that we've noticed from tests and things like that, just little bits and bobs that come along. So I think I can say in the next release, certainly most things are going to be customizable. So you're going to be able to choose the order of the columns, in the Spider. Choose what you want to crawl, and I think that'd be pretty useful. That's something we've been meaning to do for the last 6 years. We just hasn't happened because we've always prioritised kind of news and things like that.
We got old Fabrizio here. I know you actually answered it, but he was saying, on the event page itself, what is the best way to extract the content of a string of code that occurs multiple times on the page? So far I've been using mainly regex and custom extractions, but I struggle when the same field appears multiple times. When I test the regex, it works, but then I capture only the first instance of that string of code.
Yeah, yeah. No, I did. Just above, I left a comment actually, just saying in regex that it's not possible, and actually the only first match will be returned. But you can adjust your regex to get the second match anyway. And I provided an example to I can't remember the guy's name actually.
Fabrizio.
Yeah. I mean, you know, or you can use XPath, and then you can just use an index selector, so you can just put 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to make that easier though, so you can almost have, you know, a tick box or whatever, and just say gather all, rather than, it's just because we've got 10 filters at the moment, so you can only extract 10 different data values. So we'll make that easier anyway. That's going to come.
Gee, Bill Bean's being cheeky in the Q&A. He said, what other tools do Screaming Frog folks like to use? Well, given he's our guest today, Bill, I'm going to say none. It's all you need. Story's over. That's it. It's over. To be honest, I don't know, Bill. You know me. I'm a data guy, so you know I live in Webmaster tools. I'm just
right though. The only thing I use, I'm serious.
What was the one? Wait, what was the only one before this? Was what, Xenu Link Sleuth or something? You know, it really just never did enough. But
I mean,
there's a lot of tools that give you data back. You know, so many of these tools give you what Steve calls biased answers, biased grades, and things of that nature. And that's just not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, there are actually plenty of other tools that kind of you know, that have.
Well, Majestic, you know what I mean. Obviously, Majestic's something I'm heavily into.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Majestic. Actually, we use it as well.
Steve.
Cat control.
Stuart asked if there's any plans on rendered crawls.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely more difficult, but it is something that we're looking at. Obviously, at the moment, well, not just at the moment, the past 2 years, something like that, Google's been able to, you know, crawl JavaScript.
Dan.
Yeah.
Remember Dreamweaver like 2.0, right?
Yeah.
Remember how you could do the sitemap in the next version when it came up?
Yeah.
You could do the same thing with Screaming Frog because it's the same basic backend, isn't it?
As what? Sorry.
Think back like Dreamweaver 2.0 when you used to be able to take all your pages and build a sitemap page for it, right?
Yeah.
It was I don't want to say rendered, but it was flat. You know what I mean? Like, so you'd have a page with lines, kind of a wireframe diagram with the site.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so theoretically, when they're talking about rendering, is that what they're talking about? Meaning, could we theoretically pop that out into a page? And,
yes.
And if you go back and look at 2.0, I think you can do that with Screaming Frog.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, I mean, you can't, unfortunately. Not in the same way as you know, as Google would do it. You know, they're far more advanced. I mean, you know, so you can crawl Ajax websites if you obey the Google Ajax crawling scheme. So unescaped fragments, hash bang URLs. You know, I hate that terminology. So you can crawl those websites, but I mean, Google's actually going to deprecate that anyway. I don't know if you heard. I think Gary, is it Gary Arles, the Google engineer? Anyway, he was talking about it 6 months ago that they're actually going to remove those guidelines because Google can now just crawl Ajax and JavaScript pretty well. And all the tests that we've done internally, that certainly appears to be the case. So that's something for us to consider. You know, definitely. But we're not able to do it yet. But I don't know any crawlers that can either.
No, I'm just thinking. You have to go back and look at Dreamweaver 2.0 and come forward because I think there may be a clue on how you can do that quite easily in there. Just saying from prior experience. So
okay, cool. Yeah, we've got a few ideas. It's something that we've discussed internally. It will be a big project, you know, and it's taking, you know, Google years to be able to do themselves. And actually, we were doing a site review last week, and while we think Google are very good at it, sometimes we noticed some ranking issues for some of the content that was being loaded via JavaScript that you could see rendered in the browser, but obviously wouldn't be rendered if you had JavaScript off. So there's still some issues anyway, we think.
In the Q&A, Steve Bonin listed the Seer Interactive's guide to Screaming Frog. He's curious, for people new to SEO, what do you think about this guide? Gotta say, I've not seen it.
No, it's an awesome guide. It's a really, really good guide. Yeah, it's the best.
Well, I would assume so. It's Seer, right? So.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's probably better than our own guide, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't have to do it. We have to update ours now. We just send them over there.
Yeah, I know. You know, I think our guide is one of those things. You know, you build the features, then you go, oh yeah, I've got to write the guide about that now. You know, and I think we could do a much better job with it. I don't think it's yeah, it's grown. It's massive. Actually, their guide's huge as well. But I think it's better for a beginner anyway.
Mm.
So you know, I highly recommend it actually.
Oh, that's excellent. I've actually never read this. That's nice. Yeah, definitely. That looks like a great guide, to be honest.
I don't think it's been updated recently, but yeah.
Again, like you said, it's a good starting point, and that's really the crux of it. Once you start to understand the tool, then you can apply your own needs upon it. So, actually, I'll throw this on the event page for anyone else. Very handy.
Well, I hate like talking on mute for a minute and going, oops, you're still on mute, stupid.
I've done that so.
Thank you, Dan. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, there you go. Turn the table.
Yeah, I mean, you got like some couple of 2-decade search geeks in here. Any questions you got?
So are most of you consultants? Do you work for agencies? Bit of a mix?
Probably a mix. I'm a consultant. Steve's just he works with an agency, so he's got a ton of high-level clients, for sure.
I work for a rockfish that's part of WPP.
Okay.
So big. Like most of my clients, right now I'm working on a client in local search that has more than 800 locations. That kind of stuff. So
yeah.
It's a big deal. So a lot of times when we do location pages, I've got to sort through. I'm sorting through around 500 location pages on their websites. So a lot of the times I want to be able to see if I can figure out how to see a pattern to where I could have the CMS programmatically spit something out that's unique meta information on every page, automatically, programmatically as the page content, so I don't have to populate each one.
That makes so much sense, just in relation to some of our other chats, because sometimes the things that you talk about are just like, whoa, like some of us are like, whoa, like I'm not dealing with anyone like that because we're dealing more with small businesses. So thank you for sharing that. That was a great question that you posed to all of us so we can get to know each other a little bit better.
I'm a man of mystery, I refuse to say this. But yeah, no, I do. Yeah, my world is kind of a lot of higher level consulting. I do audit work as well, but my world's kind of strategy stuff. Fortune 500, larger stuff like that. To me again, for me the frogs not I do some audit work still, but a lot of times it's just when I start a new client project, first I'll just crawl. Just have it there. So then if I'm in a meeting or if I'm in a conference call or I've got questions. Just have it there, pull up, look at this, look at that data point. I often don't necessarily come with a specific question. It's almost like project startup. You know what I mean? Part of the project startup, crawl the damn thing. So anything there that comes up, it's at a glance. And then, curious enough, I've never even done this, and I'm assuming it does. I'm assuming you can schedule stuff too. Meaning, like in situations like mine, if I wanted it to just go and crawl the site every 2 weeks or something like that nature, so I always had fresh information. I'm assuming I can do that.
Actually, you can, but it's a bit of a hack at the moment.
Okay.
So it's a command line scheduling that you can do. I'll drop that in the chat now so you can see it too. Enjoy that. But there we go, just dropped it. But no, that's one of the things that we're going to build. A proper scheduler.
Yeah, so that would be handy for me because again, you know what I mean. I'm almost like the man behind the curtain when I'm talking in meetings and things of that nature. And I like my dad to be sitting there, so when I need it, I pull it up. So if I could literally, have it at different times, 2 in the morning or whenever I decide that it can run out and crawl stuff, so the next time I have a meeting, it's there waiting for me. That's the kind of thing to be handy.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do it, but you've got to use the command line at the moment. Instructions in that post.
That'd be handy.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
You have WSFTP?
I do.
Okay, so in there you have a scheduler in there, and you can run a shell script. You upload the shell script, and it automatically runs the stuff off your Screaming Frog.
Oh, good thinking. I like it.
So yeah, script it.
That would work. Doc, what about you? How do you use it with your world of Frog? Because you do a lot of content stuff as well. Like, do you utilize it just for audits, or have you found ways to use it with your content strategies?
I have not used it with content strategy, really. No, primarily in audit. I mean, that's most of what I'm doing right now is audits and forensic stuff. So, that's where Screaming Frog. Between Screaming Frog and Majestic, I pretty much satisfy my needs. Falling back on, depends on the site. Obviously, I always look at Search Console stuff too. And occasionally I'll want to pull an Ahrefs and actually compile the results from 4 or 5 tools, because I'll find that every single tool will find something that none of the others found.
Yeah.
But it's usually very few, and Majestic does the best job for me on the links. But Screaming Frog, like Steve was saying earlier, the fact that it's totally unbiased is cool. And it gives me the best empirical data on a page-by-page basis of any of them.
That's cool.
Without Screaming Frog and Majestic, I'd be up a creek.
No, we just have to charge a lot more because it would take us forever. So, and I think that's it for anyone. Just not to be a sales fucking pusher here, folks, but when you have tools like Screaming Frog, believe me, regardless of what it costs you more if you had to do this through like log files and writing your own tools and stuff like that. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry. Oh, I thought Steve was waving his hand up there.
He was, but
I did, but I said I've used Majestic in addition, so there's not just one tool besides Screaming Frog. Have to be Office. Occasionally have to use Majestic, but that's because I don't use Screaming Frog for links. I use Majestic for links.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, same here. I got, Google Analytics, Webmaster tools, Screaming Frog, Majestic. That's my 4 main tools that I use in my work.
You guys use SEMrush or SEMrush or Search Metrics?
Not so much. You know what I mean? Like if I'm doing competitor analysis and things of that nature, I might use it to a degree, or Search Metrics, certainly. I worked for transparency. I was a consultant for Search Metrics for a year and a half. Yeah, well, I was working with them, helping develop the tool and just giving a perspective from our side of the fence as to, how it could be more useful and things of that nature. So, yeah, I do still play around with, to a degree, Search Metrics.
SEMrush seems to be...
SEMrush is more competitive analysis and things of that nature.
It seems to be helpful, like, with connecting one sector to another, I think. It's helpful in translation.
Well, I use stuff like SEMrush. I'll use in what I call the art of war SEO style, meaning I want to see, you can get a good sense of what terms they're bidding on and what direction they're taking with their strategy through SEMrush. It can give me an idea of the strategy they're taking. so that if my client has a budget to kick their ass, I know how to attack them. Again, art of war. If my client has a smaller budget, I will attack from the sides and go places they're not, etc. You know what I mean? So competitor analysis is kind of where I would use SEMrush. I think it's giving me different data and different information I need strategically. You know.
We use Searchmetrics, great tool, really like it, and we use it for looking at historical visibility, any problems, penalties, things like that. It's quite nice when you can't get access to GA or search.
Yeah, but again, that is a bias-based tool. I wrote. If you go to the SEO, if you go to the Searchmetrics blog, I actually used to write there when I was working with them, and I literally had to pull teeth for an afternoon with their programmers to figure out what fucking SEO visibility was. And I swear to God, it took me like 3 hours. and what people need to understand about that, it's somewhat different, and that is somewhat of a bias because they're basing their calculations on visibility slightly differently. And that's why it doesn't match up with Google Analytics and things of that nature. They are putting some forms of bias of what they think are more valuable terms and which ones aren't to come up with that visibility score. So, grain of salt with that stuff. But yeah, I do like Searchmetrics and what they've been doing over the years. I'm still happy with what they do. But again, yeah, Kristen, to me, that's more of a strategic tool. I mean, that's something that I'm looking for, high overview data that I would identify a problem, let's say. I could find something in Searchmetrics, say, ooh, this doesn't look good. Now I would go back to analytics, go back to Screaming Frog, go back to my other data sources to try and figure out where the problem was and what created it. Or it's something like that, where Searchmetrics kind of is a high level view, and that'll give me, say, a little red flag to say, let's go dig in deeper elsewhere.
How about for monitoring visibility rankings? What do you guys use?
I don't. No.
Pinterest. Just kidding.
To a degree. Again,
eyeballs.
The world is so fucked right now between geographic personalization, between actual Google personalization. We always use the one of hockey. Like, I got a bunch of different members from around the States and Canada just type the word hockey in. And invariably in each place, and this isn't a personalization based upon your logged in status, this is more of a geographic personalization, and it's not like mobile, that the local hockey team would come up as number 2 or whatever. You know what I mean? So this is a geographic personalization that's going to happen. So this gives you the idea that certain terms are going to rank differently. But I think, again, if I look at rankings of any kind of tracking, Dan, maybe advanced web ranking, something like that would probably be something I'd use with proxies and timeouts and whatnot. But even with that, I tend to also not just look at my client, and I don't look at hundreds of terms. I look at the core, KPI terms, my key performance indicators, and I look at those, and I'll track competitors as well. That's how I use stuff like advanced web ranking. I don't just track I'll track the top 5 competitors as well, because I want to see who's investing in SEO, or who's doing a good job, or who's doing a bad job. Did someone get penalized? Back to the art of war thing. Is there an opportunity here for me? It's not as much as, like, I never give clients a keyword ranking report. I won't do it. They ask for it. I'll tell them to go do it. I'll say, here, go pay for this service. Figure it out yourself. But for me, it's more of a, keeping a pulse on a given query space, right, between my client and the competitors, and who's moving around and jostling. Because at the end of the day, you can't take it as gospel because of all the varied personalization and data center feedback that you'll get from place to place. So it's not. That's why I don't like to give it to clients, because they get myopic on it and they start to focus on it. It's like, no, don't do that. Let's watch the revenues. Let's watch your average position in your query data, and let's look at the revenues and things of that nature. I use stuff like that. These days, keyword tracking to me is more, again, competitor analysis and query space analysis more than anything. It's not a huge thing. I know, Doc, you were just saying you don't bother with keyword tracking or rankings. You're muted, Doc. Steve's not the only one.
There's so many things that change a query. The results for the same query from different people, from different geographic locations, with different search histories, blah, blah, blah. To me, rankings are like chasing butterflies. If you catch one, what the hell are you going to do with it? I look at that about the same way as I look at individual tools that set up metrics like domain authority, page authority. It's great on that particular tool for spotting a trend, but in the bigger pie, looking at it against other tools, it's crap. Because you don't know what the hell they're basing their metrics on. So how would you compare Maz's authority ranking with Majestic's? They mean absolutely nothing. You might as well be comparing weight to color.
They're only useful for that moment in time as well. Moz, they changed their link index quite a bit in terms of overall number of links and presumably quality, because you can go from a DA 70 back down to a DA 60, and when you actually have more linking root domains and more great links and so on and so forth. So generally only useful for that moment in time as well if they're changing the size of their link index.
Yeah. Looking at it within the same swimming pool, it can indicate things.
Yeah.
Just when you try to compare the adult pool to the kiddie pool, then you have a problem. But rankings, I go half ballistic when I get a client that says, well, I want to rank for X on this page or this post. Well, good luck. We can optimize for X, but if you're going to base all your actions on how you sit in the rankings for that, you're chasing butterflies.
As far as rankings go, you got to look at it from this perspective. Number one, default states for YouTube search, also on mobile search, is logged in 9 times out of 10, because we have Gmail and we're logged into Gmail on our phones. So 9 times out of 10, any mobile searches or YouTube searches will be logged in from a mobile device. So you've got to part it out to where mobile device, that's going to be very, very heavily personalized mobile search. But there is kind of a way to test stuff, but then you're going to have to make sure you're in incognito mode in New York 110 zip code. And that's pretty much the litmus test of finding what the standard is. But you also might want to use ranking not necessarily for SEO, but for ORM. Because if there's 10 results on a page and your client's negative result from somebody complaining about what they do is at number 10 versus it's number 2, it's a different percentage in score in terms of negative or positive search sentiment. Make sense?
Yeah, the other thing too, a lot of times doing ORM, a lot of times we'll look at the results from several different searches, different areas, different individuals, different devices, and if you've got a negative you're trying to chase down and it's hitting number 2, 3, 4 across 5 or 6 of those possibilities, you've got a pretty tough one to overcome. But if it's just showing up on mobile devices in the Indianapolis area, now it may not be quite so severe, But no, that's a good point, Steve.
Well, I think it's more for ORM when you're specifically talking about, we have an awareness of the brand and the purchase cycle, so there is an association with the brand at some point in time, so we're putting in a brand name and something else. And so in that thing, where you show up, if you're at the top of the page, mobile search result, desktop search result, and it says, let's see, you are a seafood restaurant and your fish kills people. Okay? So that shows up in your review, like you're saying, the Yelp reviews show across all the different ones for a certain state. I think that's kind of an issue. And then you could talk about where ranking's important, because whether that's at the bottom of the page or the top of the page, again, above the fold, below the fold, if you want to talk about in that type of information, then I think you look at it that way, there may be a difference in ranking. That's about it.
Yeah, I go along with that.
Yeah. What about you guys, Dan? What's your advice to your clients these days as far as rankings go? I swear to God, most SEOs I know at this point, they're kind of over the whole, not being able to see their keywords. And I think most of the guys I talk to are girls or gals or whatever. The only time they ever do ranking reports is when clients insist on it. I don't think a lot of people really focus on those as far as reporting to clients anymore.
Yeah, I think that's fair. most of our clients are interested in, the proper data analytics, what non-brand
Or that really handy one, revenues.
revenue conversion, looking at year on year, looking at trends, so on and so forth. But we use AWR, Advanced Web Ranking, as well. We use their cloud platform, pretty good, pretty pleased with it. And we do weekly reports that run, but we don't send to clients. We just give clients a login so they can log in and view their rankings as and when they choose. I think most of them, do understand now, and we certainly try and educate that you've got to take them with a pinch of salt. Essentially, they're looking at UK wide. They are localized now, personalized, everything else that you guys were just talking about, and that mobile, desktop, so on and so forth. And that they've just got to take them with a pinch of salt and just not put too much focus on them anyway. I think it's actually quite to do.
How's it going, Terry?
Go on, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying hello, Terry.
Going good, Dave.
Good, man.
Just got hung up with the client.
No worries. Anything you want to throw at Dan? I got to let him go soon.
I just want to say hi, Terry. Love you.
Dan answers questions when I ask him. He's a great chap. So I have none now. He's answered them all.
Another vote of confidence. Another beautiful day. All right, well, 2:23, Dan, unless you want to stick around. You're free to go at any time. Otherwise, the gang does sort of just sit here and yap, and Steve makes stupid noises.
Cool.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you. It's always been a pleasure. Every time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yes, you got everyone here's vote of confidence. We love your stuff and keep on doing it.
Cheers. Appreciate that. If you've got any more questions, feel free to let me know. I'm on Twitter, at Screaming Frog. Send me a tweet.
Are you just trying to get fucked up, you dumb motherfuckers? Because I'll come in here and fuck you all up. You guys don't know shit with your SEO optimization, motherfuckers.
Oh boy, he's funny. Anyways, he's so much fun, this guy. He needs to get a life.
Stooges coming out of the woodwork.
That's it, man. Always fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Like, as a newer person in all this, like, the most used tool that I have heard is Screaming Frog, and so this has just been a complete pleasure to have you here and talk about it from the man. And it's really, really wonderful when people will come out and talk about their tool. It's a really great service. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thanks very much.
And yeah, folks, Dan is always approachable, so anywhere you find him, Facebook, Google+, anywhere else, feel free to hit him up if you got. Because again, I guess at the end of the day, Dan, if someone has a question you may not have thought of before, I think that's the same as the world I live in. Oftentimes someone will come and ask me a question, I might not know the answer. It makes you have to go and dig in, and I'm sure you even learn stuff from the questions you get from people.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the some of the cases, some of the support queries that we've had have really required us to dig into sites and specific issues. It's really helped us improve our knowledge technically. For the SEO work that we do as well. It's been great, and certainly in terms of improving the product, including new features and getting a better understanding of how SEOs want to use the tool. It's been great. So ping me anytime. Support at Screaming Frog as well, which comes through to me and some of the team. So send us an email anytime too.
Actually, Dan, I do have a question.
Oh, there we go.
It just came up today, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing a rather large site, and it's got a CDN that watches for the activity, and sometimes won't allow the site to be indexed because because I was asking for too many requests in a row.
Okay.
Is the best way to fix that by adjusting the number of threads?
Yeah, I'd actually, rather than adjusting the number of threads, so there's sort of two configuration options under speed. I would, the option below called max URIs, and then there's -second, so that's the maximum number of URLs per second. I would just reduce that. That's the best way to control or throttle crawl speed, so I'd just reduce that down. Yeah,
Okay,
just slow it down, should be fine.
So you're saying leave the threads, the option below that, reduce.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best way to control it. Just because if you that kind of overtakes what anything you do with a max thread. So yeah, use max URLs per second. Best way to throttle a crawl.
Thanks, Dan. That's
No worries.
you know.
Someone has TV. Who has TV?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
You're just highfalutin, aren't you? Everyone's on mute, and so I can say whatever I want. I'll sing the ABCs until someone takes themselves off of mute.
All right, well, there you go. We're going to kill this here, folks. And obviously, as usual on Fridays, the room will stay open if anyone wants to chit and chat. But we're going to stop the live part of this for the moment. Dan, thank you ever so much, sir. Always good to have you, man. Thank you.
Cheers, Dave. Cheers, everyone. Good speaking to you all.